Huh? How is everybody doing? Welcome to the Transatlantic Call-In Show, where you get to talk to real-life trans people. And I'm here with Luxander, and I'm Josie Caballero. How are you today, Lux?
I'm doing okay. I feel like the hits keep coming and they don't stop coming. You just simply do not stop coming. So I feel like, you know, just a whole lot of work is being done on a very basic level to keep me in the ring. I guess one positive thing that I'll share, since I feel like the hits keep coming everywhere, is like on my channel, instead of beating my head against the wall talking about trans politics all the time, now we're talking about queer movies. So after we get done talking about trans politics today, if anybody's interested, my channel is now doing movie reviews. So, consequently, I've been watching I Saw the TV Glow like multiple times this week, which
So
is a real
good.
intense movie. Yeah, it's so good though. Yeah, so that's what's coming up next for me. How are you doing, Josie?
I am doing really well, despite the horrible ruling that happened yesterday in this
Yeah.
committee case. I was actually at the Supreme Court yesterday, and then
Oh gosh.
we were in the solidarity and giving speeches and talking, and yeah, it was pretty somber, but we will fight on, as we all know. But we'll probably discuss that a little bit later as well, and
Sure.
also. Juneteenth is today, so that's
Yes.
a good thing, as we celebrate the end of the horrible slavery that we used to have in this country. And yeah, so my heart goes out to all of you that are celebrating this day. Yeah, so I guess we'll go ahead and get into the polls.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. So, does the inclusion of trans athlete necessarily compromise fairness in all sports? And not surprisingly, 82% say no, while 18% say yes. And if you are part of that 18%, make sure you call into the show and tell us about it and why you think that way.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw this news story. I think it just broke. But in the UK, a trans woman was forced to swim with the men's team, and
He did it topless.
she did it topless.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, "All right, fine, I'll wear the men uniform," and she went and swam topless, which I think is so brilliant in so many ways, and it's
Yeah.
also got to be horrifying for her as well, but the fact that she did it is so powerful. It's such a huge thing to do. So yeah, and it's just one of those things. But yeah, right now, as we know, trans athletes are always being talked about, and they're using that as a justification to remove our humanity. But right now, we know that it doesn't compromise fairness because sports are already unfair. It's like, wow, it's like inherent. Like, could you imagine if sports was like 100% fair and it's like no winners, everybody passes the line at the same time, so everybody gets the
Yeah.
chance to win. It's supposed to be fair, yeah, it's such a joke. But yeah,
Yeah. Pretty ridiculous. I'm
so
surprised by how
it
many
is.
people
Mhm.
said yes, because I feel like, sometimes our audience are they got their little attitude that they have sometimes where they're like, well, yes, but that's because all of these factors change how fair the sports are. Whatever. I did see some people in there who were like, yes, because testosterone is an accurately predictive factor for sports performance, and it's like, no, babe, it literally isn't. It's one of those things where it's like I know I don't know a lot about this topic, but the difference between me and the average person is like a chasm, because we know for a fact that testosterone is not predictive for sports performance. We know for a fact that funding is much a bigger predictor for sports performance, and that we would literally have to like put equal funding in men and women's sports and then wait 20 years in order to see how that bears out at the competitive professional level, and all these other things, like so many other factors. I've made this argument tons of times. We talk about this on a regular basis, even though this is not, I don't know, it's not one of the like pressing, dangerous things that we deal with as trans people, but it is the getting the foot in the door, wedging the door open to increasing stripping trans rights away. And it's like, oh, any reasonable person could agree that men have an advantage over women. And it's like, okay, well, trans women are not men. Like, they are medically different. They're shown to have disadvantages in most of these metrics that you're talking about. So, like, yeah, I don't know. It just gets really frustrating after a while that, like, I do feel like the fact of the matter matters on this topic, but also hundreds of trans kids are getting stripped of medical access every day, and that is potentially going to kill them. And like, that's a huge problem that I wish more people cared about instead of all of this bullshit. But that's my opinion. I'm sure that we'll get into yet
Yeah,
another argument with somebody about trans
I'm
sports
sure.
within the next few weeks, and I'll go over it and I'll lay it all out again. Anyway.
I'm sure. And I thought it always goes down to like how people take the nuances of things. Like, testosterone does help with like muscle retention and things like that. Like there is those things, but not every sport needs that to be effective. Like
Yeah.
sometimes muscle mass slows you down, like agility and all of these different things all exist in different ways. So it's kind of like one of the things of like people try to say that testosterone is the magic drug that will get you through everything with super speed, like a superhero.
Hmm.
So it's just like it's so short-sighted in the way that we have to look at it. And I'm always saying, hey, let the sports organizations make sure that they have the determinations of how they do things. They just shouldn't exclude trans people for the sake of excluding trans people, like many of these bad organizations do, or we're just gonna have the trans women swimming topless, and that's just how it's gonna be. And then it will all be for the male gaze and the male gaze, not the male gaze. I don't think they care about the
Gotta
movies.
clarify.
Uh, Gotta clarify. So, anyways, yes. We'll just go into what the next poll question is, and then we will go right into the first call.
Which, by the way, get those
So,
calls in. We didn't have very many people waiting a minute ago. The phone number is in the description, and it is 720-619-2288. Or if you're an international caller, we do have a web caller that you can use so that you don't have to pay international minutes. But yes, get in here. We need more calls. Thank you.
yes, absolutely. So, the poll says F trans people losing. I don't know if it's supposed to say F trans people.
I think it's supposed to say if.
Lose
If.
if so let's go ahead and say if trans people lose access to healthcare, is it justifiable for them to get hormones from unregulated sources? So we'll put that poll up in the chat, and we'll go ahead and answer and talk about what our thoughts are after our first call. So I think we should just go ahead and go just right down the list of our callers. So our first call is Sam, he, him from Georgia, wanting to talk about video game characters and pronouns. If they don't have sex, why do they have pronouns? Arguments to argue. Could you tell us about it, Sam? How are you today?
Doing just fine. How about you guys?
Doing well. How are
So
you? Than the chaos that's going on in the country.
it's quite chaotic. I agree. Doing all right otherwise.
Yes.
Um,
Good.
so I guess the full question effectively is, if pronouns are exclusive to sex and gender is the same as sex, why would people that don't why do people call video game characters and animated characters, why do they refer to them with pronouns if they don't agree with gender being different from sex?
Okay,
If it's
so
all
just
purely biological for them.
yeah, so your question is, could you say that first sentence again? Because you said if gender and sex are the same, then why do we even refer them with pronouns? Is that what you're saying for like the transphobe point of view? Are we steel manning
Yeah,
like the transphobe point of view? Okay.
yeah.
So
I'm trying to ask if this is a good argument against somebody who holds the position of being a transphobe.
So
I
basically, the
see.
position that they hold is that that pronouns refer to biological sex. So they won't use a trans woman's pronouns because they think that they correlate directly to biological sex. So if there is a fictional being that does not have genitals and is not capable of producing children, then why are they willing to use those pronouns? Is that kind of what you're asking?
That's precisely my question.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I think that that would be a good way to get someone to see that there is something else that they're referring to. Like, because technically they should only ever use the term it when you're talking about a video game character because it is a non-real thing. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know that I have a lot to add to it aside from like, yeah, I agree that that would be, I don't think that any of this is effective particularly, but I do think that it would be a good kind of gotcha to be like, ah, well, yes, you see, you know, and that is, I think, even a better example than the whole people say she when they're talking about like boats, oh, we're going to take her out on the water. I think that this one is a better example than that because you are able to draw the parallel with like, this is clearly referring to other traits besides biological sex, if that's the point that you're trying to make.
Yeah, it's almost like they're referring to the appearance of somebody and not the genitals and the chromosomes that they will probably never see or even know what they are.
Yeah,
So, I just want to know if there's a good argument.
And I'm gonna go ahead and play a little bit of contrarian here, because because what you said at the beginning is a lot of these folks see gender and sex as the same. So because of that, they'll be like, well, yeah, you can always tell. So therefore, a lot of transphobes believe that people don't have ownership of their own pronouns. I've actually heard transphobes say, my perception of your pronouns is what is correct. You cannot tell me what your pronouns are. So because if you have a video game character that is hyper feminized and or hyper masculinized, they're going to be like, well, yeah, it's obvious it's a he him because it's a man character, so therefore it is easy for us to be able to see what it is. And I feel like it kind of sends you down a rabbit hole. And the reason I say this is because we have to have like a little bit of an evolution of the conversation of pronouns in general, because we are not our pronouns, right? A non-binary friend of mine told me, I am not a they them, I am a person. I just use they them pronouns. And
Yeah.
it's right. And so the idea that there's a lot of emphasis put into the idea of pronouns is a little bit of a misstep. And it's not the trans community's fault. It's how cis people proximity, like well-meaning cis people will use, no, you got to use their pronouns correctly, and they like, you got to correct the pronouns, and they make pronouns the kind of like the end all be all of respecting trans people. And it doesn't change the fact that there are people walking around, and I know this happens, like for me, for example, if I'm walking through the world and I'm in a room full of people and I say, hey, and let's say for some reason I have to disclose that I'm trans because I'm doing some type of talk about transness or whatever. There are people in the room going she in their mind, because they are so afraid of misgendering me because they still see me as a proximity to my manness. And so because of that, it becomes kind of a performative thing where it's like, I said this trans person's pronouns right, so I'm in the clear, when actually there are a lot of people who will say the pronouns correctly but don't really believe that I'm a woman. But they do the thing because they know societally that's what they're supposed to do, and then they kind of leave it at pronoun and then move on from that. And we have to kind of go more deep into it, which is, I believe that pronouns are an expression that we use linguistically to kind of represent who we are internally. So like, for example, if I'm walking around society and I'm wearing this dress, for example, this is still my expression, and people will approximate, unfortunately, my gender to how I express myself. So people will say she her just because of that, and that's just how it is in society. I didn't create the rules. I just live in them. And so because of that, so we use those expressive tools to help people approximate what we feel inside, but that's not the end all be all. Pronouns are nothing more than a linguistic expression of who we are, and not I'm sorry, linguistic expression of a proximity to who we are and not who we are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it is for the most part. I mean, not really sure what you mean by the proximity exactly.
So it's kind of like, I am not a she, her, I am a trans woman, or I am a woman, right? And so somebody wouldn't be, oh, she's a she, her, right? That isn't who I am. I'm not my pronouns. I am a woman, a trans woman, right? So because of that, pronouns get conflated with who people are when it's actually not who they are. It's just how they linguistically express in society who they are. Does that make sense? It's kind of a complex, like, trans, like, 103 conversation, right? Like, it's not like your trans 101 conversation, because at the end of the day, we want people to get our pronouns right, and that's the bare minimum that people can do. But if you want to get into like the deeper societal context of what pronouns are to the trans person, it's a much more complex thing than just at surface, I'm a she, her.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, pronouns are effectively just shorthand to referring to an entity, I guess. Or a pre-established entity. So if you're talking about me, I'm a he. So instead of just saying my name, you use the shorthand.
Yeah. But I wouldn't say Sam is a he, I would say Sam is a man.
Sure.
Right, unless you are not a man. Unless you are not, because
Right.
then that's the only way I can do it, is I would have to ask you. Right. It's like I can ask you your pronouns, or I can ask you what's your gender. But I would prefer to ask your
Mm.
pronouns, because that's not always the same. Like, Lux goes by it's. I wouldn't assume that Lux is a they. It's better for me to ask, even though Lux is non-binary. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know it gets
It
complex,
does.
but
It
that's
is a
why
little
we
more
ask
complex.
pronouns, because it's easier. Yeah, it's easier, because then it's like, it doesn't really matter to me that, like, it's like, it matters to me that Lux is non-binary, and I will see Lux as non-binary, but I still ask Lux its pronouns, because I want to be as approximate to the linguistic expression that Lux wants. And
I
just,
do
I can't,
say
I don't mean to use your conversation. I don't mean to use you like
no, you're
that in
fine.
a third
It's fine.
person,
It's
but
fine. I'm not worried about it. I just think like I just wanted to pitch in that I think that a lot of people are at very different places with their understanding of the issue and with their acceptance of the issue. And like I'm okay to a certain degree if I only get so far as like, please use the correct pronouns for these people. Like I agree that like obviously there's more work that needs to be done under the hood, sort of, but I don't really, when people say like, "Oh, you expect me to participate in your delusion, like you expect me to, affirm that. You want me to fundamentally change what I think and lie about what I really believe by affirming you." And I'm like, I don't really care what you believe in your heart of hearts, as long as you are giving me the respect that I've asked for by using the name that I've asked, by using the pronouns that I've asked. So like I don't know, maybe this is like unrealistic of me to feel like it is possible to live in a world where people think shitty things about trans people and I continue to go about my day unmolested, like that's the problem though, is that like they are not content with just having their shitty beliefs. They actually do want to try to force me to conform to something, which is why we end up in this situation where trans rights are under attack and they're trying to limit our personal access to healthcare and things like stuff that shouldn't affect them, but they feel a need to control us and exert that control over us. Uh, but I wish we could live in a world where people are like, yeah, I'll use your pronouns, even though I don't really believe in this. I'm like, I want to be able to coexist in the world with those people. So if that's as far as you can get someone in like the one conversation that you have, I think, considering ways to be effective with that and like trying to find good rhetorical devices is good. And Arden and I, we've talked about this a lot recently, where we're like, we truly just think on some level that if we explain things to people well enough, they will change their minds. And I don't actually know if that's the case, but like, Sam, I wish you all the best, and please tell me if it works. Like, because I want to believe that you can lay out a logical argument for someone and change their mind, rather than I don't really know how to do the emotional appeal that seems necessary to get people out of these positions that they did not reason themselves into in the first place. Yeah. So everybody needs something different at different points. Sometimes you need to call Matt Dillahunty and get yelled at. And sometimes you need to talk to someone else who's going to be a lot nicer about your beliefs. And like, you need different things at different points in your process. So I think, good on you for trying to refine those arguments. And that this particular example, I think, would serve well enough to just get that foot in the door of like starting to get people to think about this differently.
Yeah, between the gender social construction and and the biological sexual designation,
Yeah.
and that I think that is the most important piece of argumentation that we have to get clear to people before we can start diving into the complexities of pronouns like I just did.
Yeah.
And it's like the meme of the two philosophers talking to each other, and then the person in the middle is like still playing with colors and blocks, right?
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
like it goes beyond like the need for people to understand. It's just when it was just a cautionary tale about pronouns are not the people. Pronouns are just the thing we respect people with.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, trying to go after the only two talking points that they really have. So if I can
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
get that wedge right in between it and just split the two and go, wait a minute, hang on. You don't even agree with this.
Yeah.
Not even you think this.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
according to you, you're wrong. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I like to do the whole according to you, you're wrong. A lot of contradictions in these sorts of
Same.
spaces, whether they be religious or not. So,
Same.
yeah,
It's the
Yes.
best way to do it.
Agreed. It really is.
yeah, it is.
Sometimes it's a long walk, but the payoff is always great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Great,
it's the
Sam.
best
Well,
thing.
it really is. Well, Sam, thank you so much for your call. Is there anything else before we let you go?
No, other than a shout out to chat. I'm in there. So, how's it going, guys?
Yeah.
Nice.
Much love. All right. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.
You too, guys.
Before we move on
Hey.
to our next thing, I just want to say I've seen a few people in the chat who clearly have something to say. And I don't want you guys to get discouraged by the fact that the moderators will mute you in the chat. The reason we do that is because we are not here to host you guys arguing in the chat. We're here to host conversations. So if you're in the chat and you find something that we say disagreeable, if you think that trans people are just wearing a costume, or if you think that trans people shouldn't be getting healthcare, or like trans kids shouldn't be getting this healthcare, whatever it is, you can call in. The number is in the description. We still have open lines. We love to get callers in who are oppositional. We take plenty of callers who already agree with us. We try to get a good mix, but like, call in. We've got like
Yeah.
another 2 hours of this show. So please get in here, get in the waiting room, and we will prioritize even. You don't even have to wait that long if you have an oppositional call.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you want to go back to the poll or do you want to take another call before we get there? What do you think?
Let's get the Supreme Court thing out of the way. That's kind of
Okay,
why
let's
I
go.
put the question as what it is. So let's just do the
All
poll
right.
question now. Yeah.
Let's go with the poll. Let's go and make it happen.
Sorry, you guys did not get a poll in the chat. We're training a new producer today. So sometimes you get a poll in the chat, and today it's only on the posts page. So if you need to vote or leave your comments, do it over on the post, which is on the screen now. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, that's the
We
thing.
keep changing
Yeah.
things here.
It's fine. Like it's so super super great. So not F trans people, but if trans people lose access to healthcare, is it justifiable for them to get hormones from unregulated sources? Lux, I will start with you because I have feelings about this. So I would love to start with you on this since you are the framer of the question.
Sure. Yeah. And I'll kind of explain for chat. So the reason why this was on my mind this morning when I woke up is that yesterday the Supreme Court fully weighed in on Tennessee's law banning affirming care for trans youth. So there was kind of at issue this question of, we have the 14th Amendment, and the 14th Amendment says you cannot be treated differently under the law because of who you are, basically, like really trying to simplify it for everybody. So we have this situation where cisgender kids can get this same medication if they are experiencing precocious puberty. Like if a girl starts her period at age 8, we consider that socially difficult for her. Mostly not a medical problem. It's mostly a social issue. And we will give them puberty blockers until they're like 12 or 13, take them off of that medication, and then they can resume puberty as usual. But this care is being denied to trans kids for the same kind of social reason, that like they take the medication for a social, like a socio-medical reason, I'll say. And they're being denied that access. So to me, sounds like a clear-cut 14th Amendment violation, but the Supreme Court says no. At least in this situation, trans people are not a discrete group that are being discriminated against. Like they're like, oh, we're not making it illegal for trans people to access this care. We're just making it basically illegal to diagnose this medication for the off-label use of gender-affirming reasons. So it's insane bullshit, basically. So the question on my mind is, when people lose access to this medical care, like, if you can't afford to get it through the normal means, if you are like legally not allowed to get it because it has been made illegal for you, then should you morally be justified in going to other sources? Like I'll just stick with estrogen because that is much less fraught, legally speaking. So like if somebody wants to take estrogen, you can buy it on the internet, and you could also get in touch with Quest Diagnostics and check on your own hormone levels if you have the ability to afford that, if you have access to that. So you can safely and legally take this medication as a person who's taking estrogen. And do we think as a community that it is justified to take that autonomous step in the instance where it is being taken away from you without justification? Like, to be clear, there is no justification for taking this care away from people. It's just fascism. So, I mean, personally, I think so long as you're able to do it in a way that is safe, that there is basically no problem with doing this. Obviously, if you are trying to access testosterone, that's very illegal to do in that way. So I'm just going to leave that completely off the table. Assume that I am not talking about that when I'm asking this question. So yeah, that's just kind of the case as I'll lay it out.
Yeah. So first, I'll talk about the Supreme Court case because there was a little bit of things there. So, first, the Supreme Court case, it was called Skermeti. You could read the opinion. It was a 6-3 decision in the wrong direction, which basically upheld the Tennessee ban on gender affirming care for minors. A lot of their justifications had a lot to do with the fact that they can say, okay, this is not. They use their own justifications on saying that this should not be allowed for minors in this case. And there's also wider implications about them saying that sex doesn't have intermediate scrutiny, which is, now we're getting into the legalese of it all, but it says it has rational basis. Rational basis means that they can essentially do anything as long as it's rational by the state. So Tennessee created this rational justification that they're saying, oh, this is unregulated, this is experimental, this isn't something that can be done yet, there isn't so they basically straight up lied and just ignored all the evidence. In fact, Justice Thomas just today just said that the courts need to stop calling in medical experts to be witnesses for these court cases because it's just too inconvenient to have experts in the field in the courtroom.
I mean,
so
Utah literally commissioned their own report, and then they were like, we're going to ignore the findings. It's like, okay, Jesus.
It's like facts are just too inconvenient for them. And so now we are at this point where, because like, for example, racism has the highest level scrutiny, meaning that you're always supposed to grant people equal rights based on race, no matter what, unless there is some weird, like, oh my gosh, you can't change it. Like the burden of proof is on the courts to basically say they can be racist, or on the plaintiffs, I guess, to be racist, which there is no rational basis on any type of reason why you should be racist. And so that's why we're protected very strongly in a lot of ways in court still on race. Now, when it came to sex and gender, it was intermediate scrutiny, meaning that there was still a really high burden of proof for the plaintiff to say, I can discriminate against the person based on their sex. In this court case, they had brought that level of scrutiny down to rational basis, where now the burden of proof is on the defendant to prove why they should not be discriminated against, which completely
So, like,
flips
basically,
everything on
the
its head.
idea is that being biased against trans people is rational unless you can prove that it's not in very specific cases,
Exactly.
essentially. Like, all discrimination
Essentially.
against trans people is considered good and normal behavior. This is why I hate the legal.
Yes.
I know I don't want to shit talk like this thing that you're really like well knowledgeable about, but I really effing hate the whole like any reasonable person. That's like a justification that gets used in courtrooms that makes me want to eat lead. Like, I just think it's the
Oh, yeah.
stupidest shit I've ever heard.
Oh, it is. And that's why it should be held at the highest level scrutiny. It's silly
Yeah.
to put any type of human rights below the highest level scrutiny. Sex, gender, race, all religion, all
It's a
the
way of saying
things,
that we
right?
are
Like,
not a group to be protected. Like,
yes.
there is no such thing as trans people. Therefore, we have zero protection in the law. Therefore, you can do anything you want to us. And it's not a civil rights violation. Or like, we aren't a discrete group that you can genocide because we're not even a discrete group in the first place.
Essentially, yes. So now I don't want to speak out of turn because we still don't know the wider ramifications of what this is going to mean. But
Sure.
essentially, what could happen, since there's 27 gender affirming care bans across the country right now, some of them are being blocked by other courts, but now we don't know if they're going to use these cases as precedent to be able to say, yes, we now have to approve these things. We now know that the Supreme Court has this opinion, which now makes other gender affirming care bans on minors much more likely, but we don't have the proof and evidence of doing so yet. So I cannot speak out of turn yet on that, but we can tell from past precedences that this is probably what's going to end up happening. But I am not an attorney, so I cannot say that that is what is going to happen. However, we know the writings on the walls in a lot of ways, because of the way these things work out. So because of all of this, now we have the case of when these things start getting banned, what is going to be the reaction to society? And we have seen this in the past with, and maybe I will indirectly answer the question in a way where when abortion was fully illegal in the entire country before Roe v. Wade, people would get their own abortion drugs. They would poison themselves with actual like bleach or whatever they would eat to try to end a pregnancy, or they would do damage to themselves with the coat hanger thing, right? Well, that's just historical. I'm not trying to say that it's a horrible thing, but it's just how history has played out. So we are going to start seeing this happen with the unregulated markets, which will end people's lives because unregulated things have danger, because we want to have regulated medication, and there will be tainted things. And so for me, it's one of those situations where how do we get these things into the marketplace in ways that we can trust what is coming, where things are coming from, so we can do the least amount of harm as possible. Now, it's a really, really hard decision. I don't think we should criminally hold anybody liable and I think that's where the justification comes in. It's like, are we going to hold somebody criminally for having hormones on them in a state that doesn't allow them to have it? Right? It's like we're back to that point of view. Just like drug paraphernalia laws are now starting to affect trans people, because if you have a syringe on you because you're injecting testosterone or estrogen, you can now be criminalized for walking while trans. It's the same thing for diabetics too. People don't realize how much these anti-drug paraphernalia laws have effect on communities beyond the scope of what the laws were originally there to put into place in the first place. So it's a hard question, and I'm really excited. I really am interested to see what the community is going to vote on this, because I'm very curious to see what are the implications, because I think of downstream effects right? I think the moral justification is there for, yes, of course, get your medication. Like, if I got my
Yeah.
medication removed from me, I'm going to find a way to get it. Like, I'm just going to say it. I'm going to find a way to get what I need to get. But the moral justification is there. It's just, what are the downstream effects? How are we going to be criminalized even more? And it
Yeah.
makes me really, really nervous. But anyways,
But it is be gay,
there's
do
my
crimes. Like this, what I'm asking the chat to do is put your money where your mouth is. They have made it a crime. So like, should we continue to be gay or do we stop? Like, are we expected to just take it? Or do you think that it's justified for us to claim ownership over this thing? But we do need to get to some calls today.
Yeah, we do.
We do need to do that.
Yes.
So you've heard
Because
our
it's a
opinions.
very
Leave
important
your
topic.
comments in the posts. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just wanted to explain what happened yesterday at Skirmedi, which I think is a big thing that people want to know.
It's important to
since we
understand.
talked
Yeah.
about trans news, unfortunate
Yay.
news, but we have to share it. Okay, great. And I was at the Supreme Court yesterday because of all this crap. So here we are. Great. So let's see. I think, let me just start reading the calls here. Let's see. Uh, let's go with, I think it's 7-4 on your list. What do you think, Lux?
Sure.
Okay, great. So we're going to talk to Caleb. Him from Illinois wants to discuss labels, has a hard time with the label queer, and wants advice on the terminology for identity. Yes, Caleb, how are you? Tell us about it.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my call. So, I recently came out as bisexual. I just kind of had that awakening recently, and I'm 36, so I guess this is fairly late for me. But I'm really uncomfortable using the label queer, even though it does technically apply to me. And I don't know if it's just because I grew up in an age, since I grew up in the 90s, queer was still pretty much a slur, and was used as a derogatory term towards someone if they even, forgive my 11-month-old, he's just a little excited today.
Aw. Yeah.
He's just going ham on some watermelon and he loves it. But so because of that, partially because of that, I just have a really hard time kind of accepting that label. And I also feel like there's a little bit of stolen valor almost, just because my kind of awakening didn't really come with a lot of struggle. It didn't come with a lot of like hard questions to myself. It just kind of was like a realization that I had one day. So I have a lot of trouble kind of, I guess, comparing myself to other people who consider themselves queer, who have been through so much more than I have. And I know that that's a lot, but I guess I was just wondering what your perspective on kind of accepting those labels, or even if it is necessary to accept those labels. Yeah, I'm just rambling now.
No, it's fine. I will go ahead and start here. So, first, I'm a child of the '90s as well. I totally get it. And so I totally understand. Are you familiar with the idea of reclamation of language, Caleb? Do you know the concept, the idea of it?
Yeah, it's sort of taking back language that was once considered offensive and sort of recontextualizing it as a more positive thing. If that's what I
Yes.
think you're saying.
Yes. And queer's kind of gone along the same kind of vein, right? Like you're absolutely right. Queer was a slur, and it was thrown at us, and now it is becoming more of a community umbrella every day for the entire LGBTQIA plus community, and because of that, it's easier for us to say as a community. It's like, oh, we're part of the queer community. We're all part of the queer, and it allows people to kind of understand and contextualize it. And your little one is still eating that watermelon, huh? But it's
please
okay.
mute me if you need to.
No worries, no worries. It's fine. But they're just adorable. So as I'm a bisexual woman, but I still identify as queer myself. I'm a queer person. And even though some people would argue that I'm straight passing, which is interesting, but the thing is like I will say that I'm queer. I'm part of the queer community. I proudly hold that label because I want to stand in solidarity with the entire community, and I don't want to contribute to the stigmatization of the queer label. So the more people who are saying queer helps us reclaim the label even deeper, and I think that is something that I truly believe personally, and that's why I use the word queer. Lux, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I am coming at this almost from the opposite direction, where my primary sexuality label is queer. I mean, I don't think about it most of the time, to be completely honest, but like I just say like I'm queer. I guess I technically could qualify as bisexual. I technically could count as pansexual in some contexts. Like I've seen people float the term omnisexual, and that I think technically is the most accurate. But like I fundamentally for me, like it's just easier to say queer than try to quantify it. But if you're comfortable saying you're bisexual and like the problem that you're having is like, I don't know if queer works for me, I could kind of understand that in the sense of like, there are non-binary people who don't want to call themselves trans because they're not interested in transitioning and they don't really want to claim that identity when they feel like maybe they aren't transgressive enough is kind of how it comes across sometimes. Like, and I do think that the term queer inherently implies transgressivism. Like, I don't know that I would welcome Pete Buttigieg into a queer community definition. You can be gay, but not necessarily be like subverting society in the way that feels to me like it's queer. And I think that people in straight passing relationships probably have like a really hard time with this. And like, I'm making that assumption about you, Caleb, that, you have a kid, and I'm assuming that your late bloomingness means that you've thought that you were straight and you're probably in a straight passing relationship. And that for a ton of people, like, is a feeling that they have where they're like, am I really even queer? Like, can I even go to Pride? And then there are people within the queer community who are shitty about that. And mostly toward bisexual women in straight passing relationships. Like, if let's be completely honest, that's who gets the brunt of it. So it's not coming from nowhere, that this feeling that you have of like, yeah, stolen valor. Like, do I even count? I will push back mildly against the idea that you don't count as queer because your coming out has not been filled with struggle, because the world that we want to build is a world where coming out isn't a struggle, where coming out isn't like a burden. So if anything, like, this is what we hope to build in the future for queerness, that it is more normal, that it isn't inherently transgressive, that it isn't something that you have to like come to terms with on some profound level and your entire life has to adjust around it. It should just be normal. We should be able to just be like, yeah, that's me, whatever. And so I think it's fine if you're just like, I feel like I don't want to be part of subverting culture, or like, I don't want to be one of those people who's wearing the leather stuff at Pride. Like, there's a place for everybody underneath the umbrella of like, I again also just use queer as like shorthand because it's like LGBTQIA plus. Like, I would rather just say the queer community because I mean all those people. And so yeah, it's like if you find it easier to identify as just bi and like leave it there, like that's good. Like, as far as I'm concerned, like that's fine. But I hope that you don't feel that queer people don't want you around because you're not subversive enough or whatever, like at least the queer people that I know wouldn't feel that way just because like you're in a straight passing relationship, or just because you didn't figure out until either later, or if you, it's you're only bi, like, ooh, that's not even one of the spicy ones or whatever, just, work through it at your own pace. And if you come around to feeling like you are queer, that's cool. If you don't want to use that term, then that's fine.
Okay. No, I think I mean, thank you for both of your perspectives, because I think I just want to make it clear that I don't think that anyone in the queer community has been unaccepting towards me. If anything, it's been completely the opposite. You know, some of my queer friends have just been over the moon that, like, hey, you know, Caleb's bisexual. That's great. You know, it was great that you're coming out and everything. And they basically haven't even mentioned, you know, my age or anything like that. And I know that coming out is a personal journey that can take, you know, someone's entire life for them to even accept themselves. So I just want to make it clear that it's not because I have faced, you know, any adversity or hardship through the queer community or anything like that. I think partially I have this feeling that I kind of want to accept the label of queer because I also want to set like a good relationship with that word for my son. Because it feels really strange for me to say, like, oh, you know, your dad is a part of the queer community, but he doesn't feel comfortable using that label. And maybe that's just my own hang up.
Yeah.
But I want him to just kind of understand that being queer is good. You know, it's okay, and you don't have to be ashamed of it. And it feels kind of hypocritical coming from someone like myself who does have such I don't know, hang-ups, I guess you could say, about using that label.
Yeah. I would say a good thing to do is to like look for and immerse yourself in similar stories to you. Cause like I don't think I really fully understood my place in a community's legacy until I went to an art installation about HIV AIDS. And it was like kind of soul crushing, but it was like, I didn't know what I was inheriting, or what I have inherited in this whole thing. And like finding other queer people who do have a similar experience to you. Like there are plenty of bisexuals in straight passing relationships or whatever, that you could find. And like, so the more you see yourself reflected in other people, I think the easier it is to be like, yeah, this is just kind of my people. At least for me, that was like a big, really getting everything to settle in place of like, yeah, these people are me and I am these people. And we bear a burden together that I didn't know. And maybe it's different because I'm white. And like when you grow up a person of color, you kind of have that built in where you're like, oh, I'm part of a group that has like a shared civil rights struggle. And that like just hit me like a truck in my 20s. And so that's kind of an adjustment that you have to make mentally as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Lux. I never thought about that because in my life I was always raised with my ancestry in mind, from my Puerto Rican descent to my Mexican descent to my indigenous roots. You know, all of it, and it was like everything was always based in that, in everything, even my family, and so I never thought about the fact that as a white queer person, the idea of having all of that ancestry kind of thrust upon you could be overwhelming. I could imagine. Yeah.
Yep. I wish that I had a culture that wasn't just fucking Marvel movies and racism. Like, you know? Oh, gosh.
Oh, agreed there.
Yeah. Oh, and macaroni and cheese. I guess we've got that too.
Yeah, you got that. You got polka.
Yeah.
That you have that. Yeah. Now I'm just being mean. Okay, I'll stop.
It's okay. We deserve it. Oh God.
Oh gosh. Okay.
I will
Caleb, thank
defend
you.
macaroni and cheese to my death, but
Yeah,
fair.
there you go.
Fair.
There you go. Yes. All right, Caleb. Well, thank you for the call. I really appreciate it, and thank you for calling in because it is something to think about. But you are a part of the LGBTQIA plus community or a queer community, or however you want to say it. Like you're a part of that culture. You're a part of who we are, and don't let anybody take that away from you. And don't feel like an imposter in our spaces. It's one of the last things that the queer community wants is to have people feeling like they don't belong in a community that has been fighting for belonging the entirety of our existence. So yeah, great. Well, thank you for the call. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you guys so much. You've given me a lot to think about, and I hope the rest of your calls are as relatively calm and happy as mine has been.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah,
No,
thanks for calling.
I'm sure they will. Thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right,
I
let me
do
hit
think
the
we're going
button
to
on my
end
air
up.
conditioner.
Oh, yeah, sure. I think that we are going to have a hard cutoff at some point today. I got a message earlier that I haven't gotten a follow-up message about. So it's like, I think that we might have to have like a hard cutoff at 4 p.m. or something like that. So just, we're going to try to get through as many of these calls as we can. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to have to switch over to
So
Super Chats relatively soon.
okay, so we'll try to take the calls that we have coming in now, and while we do that, I just want to quickly announce what is on. Yeah, we'll do that. And just for the sake of the line, we have the Sunday show with Austin and Jimmy. On that is going to be on Sunday, and then we have Skeptalk with Aaron and Susan. And then Tuesday we have Chewed Gum. It doesn't tell me who's going to be on Chewed Gum. And then on Wednesday we'll have Matt Dillahunty with the hang up. We don't know who the guest is going to be. And then next week we'll have myself and Dr. Ben for TACIS. So just kind of wanted to get through that, and then we will go ahead and start taking the next calls. And also remember, if you want us to read your super chats, please, $5 or more, we'll read them at the end. And if you put hashtag Team Josie or hashtag Team Lux, so we can have our little competition. I don't know if we're gonna have the thing. We will do something. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and go down the list of callers. So we're going to go. Yes.
I just saw Jimmy's super chat. Just sorry. We'll read it later.
Oh my gosh. We'll read it later. Yes. I love it. Thank you, Jimmy. So we will go ahead and take Erica, they, them pronouns from California, wants to ask us if we can give advice on the denial of gender affirming care. Erica, please tell me what you would like to talk about.
Oh, I just wanted to, I don't know if this is a good subject for this show or whatever, but I've just been trying to get some advice and some resources as to where or what can somebody do. I live in California, and they talk about how like pro transgender and everything it is, but it's really not like that. And I just wanted to know if you had any advice or knew of any resources or anything for somebody who's having trouble getting like their gender affirming care through like, you know, insurance or through like government assistance, like Medi-Cal or whatever, like, you know, Medicaid or something like that.
Absolutely. In most major cities in California, you have a lot of queer centers, and even in smaller towns in California, there are LGBTQ centers that exist that are community centers. A lot of them have transition healthcare like specialists that are there to help navigate these type of things. I know in California, Medi-Cal still covers gender affirming care, so you should be covered. I know a lot of friends who live in California who receive their care that way. So I would definitely try your local community center. Either it's called a LGBTQ center or it might be called a Pride center in certain cases. I think that is a first step that you can go to. You also have different organizational groups like Trans Equality.org, which is the Advocates for Trans Equality. They have resources and guides on how to start navigating the healthcare system. And there's also organizations like the Transgender Legal Center that also have resources that can help you get those type of care as well. And also, if you already have a primary care provider through any of these systems, you can also go to them and tell them that you are needing this care. And also, you can go to Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is actually a really great resource to go if you are lower income and need assistance in getting hormonal care. Planned Parenthood is actually a large distributor of hormone care for trans individuals, and Planned Parenthood is actually quite representative in the state of California. Have you tried any of? Does those sound like a good start for you?
Yeah, like I actually have a response to that,
Sure.
which would be two things.
Sure.
So like I am familiar with Planned Parenthood, and there is a lot of like trans specific clinics, or at least even a lot of places have like trans specific departments within the clinic. And it seems like that would be helpful, and I'm sure it is to a lot of people, but it seems like when you get into the more, so like hormones and everything, you're right, Planned Parenthood and most clinics for sure, like there's pretty good access to that part of gender affirming care. But when it gets into the other kind of parts of it, like I don't want to get too specific, but you know, like the more developed stages of like transitioning or services, like you know, surgical or dermatological, yeah, stuff like that. It just seems like there's a lot more like pushback, a lot more red tape, and so like it's there, but it just seems like and just for me in my situation, like I'm not able to like this, and I don't know why exactly, but I'm just not able to get it. It's covered, but I'm just not able to get access to it. And I'm not able to find, there are like a lot of advocacy organizations and stuff like that, but when I contact them, they're more so like, you know, we'll just push you in the right direction, or we'll give you advice on maybe something you could do, or we'll just kind of redirect you back to the avenues that are already in place, like grievances or insurance, or just, you know, like, so I'm just kind of being thrown into a cycle, and I'm not getting anywhere. And it's kind of been a while since that I've been dealing with this. And like I said, there's no clear reason or anything like that. So I was hoping like I could find, and I've been looking, but you know, it's just not been helpful. Like for an advocacy organization or somewhere where it's like listen, I'm really being redlined or something like that. You know, I'm really being denied services, like, and it's been going on for a while, and so it's something really like that I'm not getting any answers to, and it's something that I'm not able to find a way to get past or overcome. So
absolutely. And I don't mean to kind of be like, go in this route. I will say there is a certain word that you need to be asking for when you go to like a local, say you need a trans healthcare coordinator. You need to talk to a trans healthcare coordinator is the words you need to say, because a trans healthcare coordinator at a queer center, like, you know, a Pride Center, or even at Planned Parenthood, you need the whole complete care, right? That's what you're looking for. You're looking for complete care for all of your transition related needs. And you're right, the medical system in America is garbage. The world around knows that medical health care in the United States is terrible and doesn't provide the care that we need, especially for the folks that are lower income. And it's not fair, and it's not okay, and it sucks that we have to go into this circle and keep advocating for our care 1.5 million times before we find the person that's going to support us and help us in this way. I wish I could give you more, but I would try and start looking for trans healthcare coordinators that can help you navigate the system, because not everybody knows how to navigate the system, nor should you have to be able to navigate the system. But there are professionals out there that are good at doing this type of work. I know that's not the best answer I can give you, Erica, and I'm so sorry that I could not give you a better answer. But I would try going to the people that provide that healthcare, and you just need to ask, is there a trans healthcare coordinator that I could speak to help me navigate my needs for the healthcare system?
Okay. And do you know any, like, are you aware of any, like, organizations maybe that I might be able to contact that where if I tell them that, you know, this is like an ongoing real issue, and they're not trying to like, they're just not, it's like a door that they just won't open for me, like, you know, like they're just not trying to give me what I'm entitled to. Do you know any organizations that I might be able to contact who can maybe assist me or on my behalf or something like that?
Unfortunately, I don't have anyone in the top of my mind, but your local community centers are your best bet, because they know the local area, because a lot of times healthcare is localized. So you're going to have to be able to go to those areas. But if you go to a queer community center that actually is there to support the LGBTQIA plus community, and you say, hey, I need help navigating trans healthcare so I can get my complete transition related healthcare, they should be able to point you in the right direction and give you phone numbers and say, hey, I want to make an appointment. I want to make an appointment with a trans healthcare coordinator. Can you help me find somebody to help me navigate this? And usually if you say those things, they will try to help you. I can't speak because I don't know where you are in the country other than just California, but I know LA has these, San Francisco. You're okay, great. You're in the Bay Area. So you're in better shape than most. Try to find your local queer community center and just go in there and just say, "Hey, I need help." And they will have a phone tree of people that will be there to help you. Okay?
If you need to look up pro bono legal services, like if this is a situation where you know that you're entitled to the care and like someone is just not giving you a referral that you need, if you need a lawyer to draft a letter that says, excuse me, my client is entitled to this health care and they're being given the runaround and they've been being given the runaround, I'm just like, amongst the other things you could look into, that is potentially an option. If you're like, I know that this care is covered or should be covered, or should be taken care of, and it's just a bureaucratic runaround, which it kind of sounds like is what you're dealing with, then it's possible you might need someone to write a sternly worded letter for you.
Yeah. And I would definitely try the community center first. And if that is a dead end, then I would definitely recommend what Lux is saying. And I would contact the Transgender Legal Center, TLC. They actually are a huge organization, and they have that type of service. So, okay. I wish you the best of luck. I really do. I wish I could help more, but that's basically all I can do with on where I sit here in the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to say, can I just say one more thing, like just a comment?
Sure.
I just think that it would be cool, like, as far as a community, you know, trans people or queer or whatever, however you want to define or label the community, or like, and this goes for every minority community. I think that it would be cool if people who are serious about their community would work together to put something together for situations like this, instead of just waiting to come out and be loud and vocal when the cameras are on, or when there's a big tragedy, or when when it's convenient, or when it's easy, when it's when there's a momentum behind it. Because there's like a lot of people who just need like that. Like, where can I go? Where can I go? Ask like somebody who knows what they're doing, somebody who knows how it works, so they can just do something like write a letter on my behalf and just quickly just boom and get me out of this situation. Because so it's like sometimes when you get stuck in one situation, that puts you at risk to get stuck in another one and another one, and then it's like it's a tragedy. Then everybody wants to talk, come help, and this should really be something to
I agree.
try to prevent all that.
I agree. And that's why go to the local center, because you're there and the people who are trying to support people are local. They're there, they see you, you're and that's what they're there for. And I wish we had more resources to fund all of these local community centers. I wish we had one in every township in the entire country. And it's unfortunate that it's localized in a lot of ways. But I 100% agree with you, Erica. Yeah.
All right. And you said it was called did you say it was called the Trans Legal Center? How you thought it?
Yes. The Transgender Law Center.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I'm gonna go for that one. So I appreciate it.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, for sure. I know a lot of good
luck,
people
Erica.
there. I work with a lot of them. Yeah, good luck. All right. Bye. That's hard. That's always a hard conversation for sure.
I think that's like so common for trans people. I know we want to try to get to a couple more calls before we move into super chats, but just like that's what has been happening in the UK. If anybody watched Abigail Thorne's video about like her just persistently being denied access to care and just constantly like, oh yeah, go talk to this person, or go talk to that person. Well, actually, that person doesn't have any control over this, and like, for people who are poor in this country, like it's the same thing. It's like you're just always getting referred to someone else who can't actually solve your problem because we're underfunded and stretched thin, and we've got so many things to focus on that it's like it's hard to make sure nobody's falling through the cracks, and so many people do.
Yeah, and that's why and it's so frustrating because words like trans health coordinator, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, you need to speak to that person. Okay, well, let me get you their number. It's like you have to say the magic words.
Like, why didn't you just tell me to go talk to that person in the first place?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, wait, you had this the whole time? Like, what the hell? And it's just like, it's really, 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 really frustrating. So we have 2 calls, and I think we can get to both of them. So let's go ahead and go down the list with Alex. She, her from Germany wants to talk about gender identity on a deeper level. Hello, Alex. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Good.
Yeah. Basically, it's about very much understanding gender identity in general, where it comes from, and I'm at a point where to me it's really hard to describe, because I definitely identify as a woman, but I really think that that's just because society has told me that my entire life, and it has really had an impact on my experience and who I am, because people treat me like a woman, but I don't really know what it would feel like to be a woman, other than how people react to how I look and stuff like that. So I have a really hard time deeply empathizing with this thought of someone being treated like something and not feeling in accordance to that, because I'm really, really lucky that I do actually feel in accordance to what people perceive me as. But I would like to make that connection a little more clear to me, so that I can have that little bit deeper of understanding and empathy.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, like, I think that so like I was assigned female at birth, so I have the experience of like growing up being treated like a female, and like, everything that comes with that, with like, you know, being expected to do things that my brother wasn't expected to do, and like having responsibilities that boys didn't have, and being looked at by men at a concerningly young age, and all this kind of stuff. And like, I think it's like hard. It's like, okay, you've got the misogyny thing. Like, maybe it's not as big of a thing in Germany, but like, obviously here, there's like, it's just a constant thing that you're steeped in. And for me, it felt like I was catching strays, and it still to this day feels that way, where it's like, I know that what you're saying is targeted in a way that is supposed to make me feel bad because of my relation to women as a group, but it just feels like I'm just catching something on the side. So it's like hard to describe that feeling of alienation, where it's like, I don't feel bad about being a woman because like womanhood is considered bad in our culture. I feel bad about being associated with womanhood because I feel like that's a foreign group to me. Like, I recognize it as a group. It's a good group. I love women. Big fan. But it just isn't a group that I belong to. And that alienation has just like kind of always been there. I was somewhat okay with the idea of being a girl, but I think that's because we have like less of a strict difference between boys and girls. We allow a little bit more intermingling for children, and the super binary expectations are a little bit more relaxed. Like, certainly we don't expect 10-year-old girls to wear makeup, but we do expect women to wear makeup in a professional environment. So yeah, I mean, that's just like my personal experience. And if you are like, I experience people treating me like a woman, and like, yeah, it sucks sometimes because it's not nice, but ultimately, like, they're correct to be treating me that way, if that makes any sense. Not that like mistreatment is justified, but that at least they're hitting the right target. Like, that was the thing that kind of helped me gain some clarity on the issue, if that makes any sense.
Hmm.
Yeah. And to go to your to the question about gender identity, remember and this, I think this is where I think a lot of the issues stem from, is that society is still dealing with the fact that there's a difference between sex and gender, even though society has been treating people with the words gender and not necessarily in a sex way of doing things. So the idea that, and this is probably where you're struggling, is like, I don't identify with the gender identity that society says that I am, so therefore there is that uncomfortability of like, you're telling me I'm a woman, but I didn't agree to that right away. Like, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But the idea is, in society, we don't give people a lot of times the opportunity to be like, are you a woman? Or are you a girl? Are you a boy? Are you a non-binary person? A lot of times in society, we're not given that option. So because of that, we have to then struggle with bucking the tradition. It's very similar to people who are, gay, or a lesbian, where it's like society just assumes you're straight. So then if you aren't straight, now you have to deal with the fact that you are bucking the tradition of the society that is around you that says you are a thing. And that's a very uncomfortable feeling to have. And that's one of the reasons why we have this thing called coming out, because that's essentially us flagging to the world around us that I am coming out against what you said I am, right? And so therefore, that raising of the flag of the identity is starting to feel uncomfortable in a way where, Alex, you're given permission, like, and you don't need to have permission to do this, but society has essentially given a lot of people permission to be able to sit and ponder, am I a woman? Am I the gender that people say I am? Or could I be something different? And what you're feeling is a very normal feeling that people have. And some people just say, oh, I have a penis, I have a vagina, so therefore I'm this gender, and it works out for 95% of everybody else around you. But in reality, there is that possibility where you're just like, no, this isn't what I am. And so therefore you have the right as a person, Alex. You can say tomorrow, I'm not saying that you are going to say this, but you can declare tomorrow, I am not a woman. I am not that. and because of that, now I'm going to live my truth as who I am. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on some of that.
Yeah, I don't have very clear thoughts. I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
I think I have to sit with that for a while and just think about it.
Sure.
Please do. Yeah, it's a really important thing to sit with. And by the way, I'm just letting everybody know there's like a storm that just rolled in, and the trees are literally like this. So if my power goes out, that's why. So I'm just saying that. I used to say this to a lot of cis people, especially when I first started coming out, especially cis women. I used to say this a lot. I go, my gender identity and who I am as a woman has been tested very harshly in society. So my gender identity is sometimes more established than the cis people around me. I am so sure I'm a woman because I had to go through shit to be the woman that I am today, because everybody around me was telling me, no, you're not, no, you're not, no, you're not. Well, I'm so sure in my gender identity that I dealt with all of the shit to be a trans woman. And that is a huge test, a burden of proof that I had to go through to be secure in my gender identity. And a lot of trans people are very secure in their gender identity because they had to sacrifice something to be able to say I'm that gender. And a lot of cis people never have that opportunity, like I said before, to be able to say I am this person, and it has much more to do than what's in between my legs. And, I use the line that was said in Pose, which is, if you want to find my womanhood, the last place you need to look is between my legs. You talk to me, understand me, know who I am as a person in my heart. And that's how you're going to know I'm a woman. And so that's something that is important, because now as you go into this journey where you're able to ask yourself this question fundamentally with truth and meditation, in the way of saying, am I a woman? And ask yourself that seriously. Maybe the first time you're actually able to ask that question. And because you're asking yourself that question, you're going to be more secure in your own identity.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, thank you, Alex. Do you have anything else you'd like to say before we move on?
I'd like to thank you too. Thank you for answering my question, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Call back if you have any follow-ups. We'll be here.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
All right. Talk to you
Okay.
later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Gosh, this storm is wild. I'm like looking out, like, wow, these giant trees are like just shifting and moving.
It's the most sad thing about moving to Oregon is that we don't we get rain here, but we don't really get storms the same way. But we
No.
are supposed to get a storm this weekend, and I'm like, yes, let it thunder. I'm excited.
Oh my gosh, that's the one thing about the West Coast, is you don't get those huge thunderstorms that roll in the way this one is.
I know.
Jeez. All right,
So sad.
anyways. It's so sad, so sad. All right, so we have one more call. Zico, him from Belgium, and wants to talk about outside influence on coming out as trans. So, hello, Zico. How are you?
Hi, good evening. Am I audible? Am I clearly hearable? Or
Yes, you are. You are clear as a lightning bolt literally struck a transformer across the street. But I'm still here, so I guess it wasn't my transformer.
Exciting.
Literally blue sparks, like it
Wow.
was pretty intense. If you could see what's happening out here, it's wild. Anyways, go ahead.
Yes. So I want to say beforehand, English is not my language. So if I sound a bit rude or offensive, I don't have the words to cautiously choose them. So I'm just saying right now, I don't have a problem with you as a soul, but I've heard from Americans, this is uniquely to Americans, that I'm a bit direct. So again, it's not to be rude to you, but I don't have really the vocabulary to choose the right words, right? So
Sure.
we talk about transgenderism, this whole concept. Do you think it's do you think that when you have a child, you have children that come out as Caucasian, that come out as albino, and do you think there is such a thing as a trans child? Like he's born and this is a transgender individual.
I don't think people usually come out as albino because it's kind of readily apparent when they're born that they have albinism, or those traits might develop later on. Like vitiligo is something that doesn't necessarily develop until later, which results in similar things where like you have extra pale skin or you lose color in your hair or your eyes are a different color. Like, do I think that there is such a thing as trans children? Well, I was one, so yes, that's my perspective on that.
And what would you say a trans child is? Would you say you would just like to do girly stuff, or was it? Well, please explain to me.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So the idea is like we are born as trans, we are born as queer, we are born, loving the people that we want to love, all that type of stuff. And so the idea comes from this. So do you know of what a social construction is? Do you understand the concept of that, Zico?
I've heard of that concept, yes.
Yes, exactly.
So basically society decides what the thing is.
So yeah, society kind of puts people into boxes, unfortunately, and there is a rigid understanding, even in Belgium, I'm sure, where women are doing this thing and men do these things on average. So like, let's say dresses for the sake of conversation versus masculine presentation. The social construction already exists. So for me, for example, as a trans woman, I was able to view the world and I'm like, oh, I fit into the bucket of what social construction tells me what a woman is. And I identify with the way society says that womanhood is. And that is my group. Those are my people. That is my identity. That is what I connect with. So, but if it were the other way around and it was like, let's say the gender construction was flipped, I would still want to be a woman in whatever gender construction that is, because that is who I am internally. That's my identity. I will fit with the tribe that is in that case. So that's what I think. It's not I associate it with womanhood. So as a trans woman, I associate with women.
Sure.
So
but
femininity.
When you say, look, when yes,
in the social construction of femininity for me.
Sure. So as you said right now, every social construct could be different in different societies. But then when I hear individuals from the transgender realm, when I hear them speak and I say I belong to womanhood because of 1, 2, 3, and then no disrespect, but I hear them make the claims that if I would make them, I would be considered sexist. So they say I want to wear makeup, or I want to be, and they name the typical feminine traits, like I'm a bit more sensitive or caring. But these transgender individuals, they have themselves have wait 1 second. They themselves have like an image in their mind of what manhood is, and then they say whatever that is not, then that's me. But when you look at it, manhood is very vast. Not everyone is Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali. You have Bob Ross, who's like very
Zico,
artsy.
I
very
hear
soft.
what you're trying to say. So Zico, I want to say this. Right now, if manhood in Belgium had a lot of makeup, would you? How do you know you wouldn't be wearing makeup like the most men in your lives if it was the social construction was differently?
Yes, I'm sure social constructions. Look, for example, in Scotland, you have those dresses that are until your knees.
That's more cultural. So what I'm saying, Zico, is, but if you were Scottish, you probably would. But that doesn't have anything to do with what I'm talking about. So if men in Belgium were more feminine, let's say, and they wore makeup, and then the women didn't wear makeup in the social construction, I would assume that you would probably wear makeup because that's what the other men in your lives are doing, correct?
That could be a reality. Yes, I could understand where
Yeah.
you're coming from. But
So
still,
that's
with
what
that
I
being
mean.
said,
So
so
I
no
identify
disrespect,
like
but
my
then you're affirming
mother
that
and
it's
my
kind of a
sister.
costume.
No, I'm confirming that there's a social construction.
Yes, that you want to adhere to from either one side or the other side, and whether you call that a feminine
I did
construction.
not create the social construction. I just live inside of it.
Sure, but you decide. Okay, so let's say you were born like 100 years later, and from now on in America, 100 years later, everything that you associate with manhood now is feminine, and everything that you associate with femininity now is masculine. Would you then stay a man because you're now in the
No,
right
because
environment, quote unquote?
No, because I would still identify with what women do because it's still a social
And what is that
construction.
thing that women do that you associate with?
What the social construction is, just like we know what men do in the social construction now.
Yes, but what are those? What are the concepts? Like, okay, I associate with that because I'm not gonna lie to you.
You just listed a bunch. Zico. You listed them already, like makeup and dresses and all of that type of stuff. And then you said, what if it were the opposite? Meaning what I said already in the beginning of this conversation, I would just identify with the opposite social construction that women are doing.
Yes, so I think we're talking past each other here. So you say, right now, I have done the transitioning because I feel more affiliated with that side. But if it were 100 years later and it was reversed, I would stay in my place because then I would feel rightly.
What she's saying is she identifies with womanhood, and we understand that womanhood exists in different ways in different contexts, right? Like in India, women wear things, and in Muslim cultures, women wear certain things, and in America, women wear certain things. What she's saying is she feels a pull toward womanhood that would also include a pull toward all of the trappings of womanhood. And I'm using the word trappings to mean like the things that you are referring to as basically stereotypes. So if the stereotypes were different, then Josie would feel pulled toward different behaviors because the behaviors being associated with womanhood is what she's describing. I would like to detour slightly and talk about gender nonconforming trans people. Like, I don't know if you know this, Zico, like there are transgender women who were assigned male at birth and they've transitioned to women. They take hormones, they've had a vagina installed, and they still work on cars and they like to play softball and they go fishing and hunting on the weekends. So there clearly are plenty of trans people who don't follow what you would describe as being like stereotypical behaviors. It's just that it's easier. Hold on, Zico, give me just 1 second. I just want to finish this thought.
Yeah, I'm waiting.
It is easier for women to be recognized as women if they fall into those behaviors that are associated with womanhood. In my country, there has been accusations that Hillary Clinton is secretly a man because she performs in a male-dominated role as a politician. And there's all these jokes about how she's actually the man of the relationship and Bill's her bitch and everything. So like even cisgender women feel a sense of pressure to conform to stereotypical femininity in order to be recognized as women. So trans women, especially if their physical appearance isn't in line with what we expect from women, they are going to usually take on additional feminine qualities, even if it's not necessarily true to who they feel they are, because it is a requirement to being socially understood as a woman by other people. But there are plenty of trans women who do not give a shit and who have short hair and have grease under their fingernails and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, I feel like we get this thrown at us where it's like, well, trans people just reduce this whole thing down to stereotypes. And then we just completely fucking ignore gender nonconforming trans people as though they don't exist, or as though there isn't a good reason why trans people use these signals, because what we're doing is communicating. Wearing a dress, wearing makeup, wearing long hair, wearing your fingernails painted, those are all signals. You're trying to communicate to other people through your expression that you fit into a social group that they understand as having all those same traits, if that makes any sense.
Sure. So you're, I don't want to strawman you, right? But you basically say that these are these concepts that I feel drawn to. But what if, for example, you said that Hillary Clinton, she's extra, like a dominant to be seen as like this bitch type of woman. But this is also from the male side. You have these males who are just a man, but they feel like in social pressure, they think they have to beat people up to be a man, or they have to think they need to join the MMA gym to be a man. Like,
Yeah.
manhood
Yeah.
or womanhood is not a specific list of characteristics or behaviors. You know,
Yeah,
They are
Zico,
policed
that's right.
by people. So it's not necessary for you to beat people up in order to be a man, but there is some kind of external pressure making you feel like you should, or making you feel like you need to be
Sure.
prepared for violence at any moment. And like that exists outside of us. And trans people experience the same pressure. And so there are trans guys who feel like they need to get into a fight and like really show how tough they are, and like they work out, and like, yeah, trans people and cis people are both experiencing pressure to be something specific, and it is drawn on
Exactly,
these
but because
gendered
they both,
lines.
yes, but because they both experience it, that does not mean that defines them as a man or a woman. For the same way, you have
Zico,
like
are
from
you a man or are you a woman? Are you a man or are you a woman?
a man,
Why?
because I have the capability to give the sparkle of life to a woman.
So it's not about social construction at all for you.
No, I wouldn't say so. No, I would see
Okay,
Bob
so we're
Ross, who's
having,
like the
this is why
softest
we're
dude
talking
as
past
a
each
man.
other. This is why we're talking past each other. And this is why language matters. That's why when we talked about
Sure.
gender is a social construction and sex is a biological thing. You are a male, like I am a male, but that does not change the fact that I am a woman, just like your maleness doesn't change the fact that you are a man, for example. So do you understand the difference? So because that's
I
the most
understand the
important
difference.
thing. Okay, so you do understand the difference.
I do understand the difference, but I'm trying to say is that this term is it's imposed on us. For example, you have
And why did you
I don't know
say,
if you're,
when I asked
look,
you
wait,
if you're a
one
man or a
second, one second,
woman, hurry
one
up.
second.
Go ahead.
The difference between them is imposed. What I'm trying to say is, for example, you go to Kyrgyzstan. I don't know if you know these countries. They are very unknown.
I
Kyrgyzstan,
do.
Turkmenistan,
I do know where
Tajikistan.
it is.
You have,
Yes, I know my
there is
geography.
no transgenderism there, because it's not this whole idea
That's not true.
of imposing
That's
that
not
there's
true,
a difference
Zico.
between sex
No.
and gender. This is not introduced to them.
Zico, you're wrong.
There's almost zero. There's a lot in
Zico, I'm
India.
gonna move. If you don't stop, Zico, stop for a second.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
Yeah.
Trans people are on every corner of the world. There is no place on the planet where trans people don't exist. Just like there's no place on the planet where gayness doesn't exist. Like
Sorry,
that's where
like,
we have it.
Where
Just
did you
When you
say
because
the
say-
second
something's
thing?
illegal.
Yeah, when you say that, oh, there are no trans people here or there are no gay people here, like that is to say that people are not openly those things, or people are being killed for being that thing, or it's illegal to be that thing. But it is like very well known. And we like there's like not as much historical evidence as we would like to have, because people literally destroy the historical evidence of these things. But there are underground communities, underground networks in these countries where people have secret
In
relationships in all of these different places.
Oh,
like
yes,
just because
absolutely.
the society is intolerant of those people doesn't make those people cease to exist, because this is an intrinsic quality that people have. It's not something we choose. It's not something that happens because of our social upbringing. Like people just are trans and they just are gay. It's like a really big problem that people perceive it as like a social contagion, that, oh, these other countries who are doing things correctly don't have this problem. Like that is just false.
It is false, Zico.
Okay.
Do you not agree with that?
No, I don't. I do agree that
Why?
there's a small portion of it look, I do agree that
Zika,
there's a
why do
small
you
portion
believe
of those
there's
people.
no?
I'm trying to
Why
explain
do you
that.
believe that there's
Dr.
no trans people in Kazakhstan? Tell me why.
That's not what I said. I said not that there is zero. My point, maybe I said that. I'm trying to take that back. I didn't say
You
that
did
is
say
zero.
zero.
I'm sure there are people who would like to do it, who would like to do the
Sure,
transitioning,
yes,
etc.
they are trans in their mind. Yes, they are trans. That's what we were trying to say.
Sure.
It's
So,
it's probably 1%
because
of the population.
let's just say it's 1. So when you have that 1% and it's not propagated, it stays 1%. But when you have
It's
I hear so much from women. They say I was a tomboy when I grew up. I was very I like hanging with the males. I like to do the rough stuff. And then, you know, I later on I realized I was way more comfortable because I was just more a tomboy. So
Yeah, and
that
we
doesn't
are
when they
have
fine with
grow up,
that.
anything to do.
they
We're
more
fine with that,
comfortable.
Zico.
So yes,
We're
so
fine
the
with people
point is,
being tomboys. But I'm not
I never
I'm
said
not
it's
a
a problem.
femboy. I'm a woman. There's a difference.
Femboy. I never said fem. I said tom. Tom is like when
Well,
you are a woman and you're.
Well, she's coming from the opposite direction, so she's giving the opposite example.
There's
like a man who
tomboys
was
and
very
there's
feminine, and then
femboys. Yes, exactly. So I am not a
She's-
femboy. I'm a woman.
Yeah, it's like what you're describing
Sure.
is like
What I'm
young
saying- what I'm
girls
trying
who
to
do
say is-
masculine things, and she's saying she's not a male who likes feminine things. Like she is a woman. That is the difference. That there is room, in my view and in Josie's view, for males to just be feminine. You can just be gay,
Men.
or you can just like makeup. Men, you know, whatever. Like you can do whatever you want, and that's fine. And also, there are some people who are born male who are women, and that this is a fundamental trait that they can't change. And when you
Yes.
say like, oh, it's like
So,
1%,
exactly, I
but
agree.
oh, except if we socially support them, then the number increases. It's just we're
Yeah.
pulling out the left-handedness chart. When you stop actively punishing people, when you stop actively suppressing something, it will, in the immediate future, slightly like increase in a way that seems exponential, and then it levels off, because in actuality, we know that the statistic globally is that roughly like 2 to 3% of people are transgender. Like on a fundamental level, that just is what they are. And just by making the world hostile for them, it doesn't make them not trans. It just makes them unable to be outwardly trans. Do you see a difference there?
Sure, but don't you see that, for example, in America, I heard last, I don't know if that's completely correct, but that the youth now is like 20%. They identify
That's
with
not true.
the rainbow community.
It's 3%.
At least way more.
And also that includes, if you're saying the rainbow community, that also includes all of the gay people. And the reason, I'm going to be completely clear with this, Zico, and I want you to understand that this is an extremely serious thing I'm about to say to you. When people cite these numbers about like, oh, there's a sudden huge number of gay people or a sudden huge number of trans people in my country, and probably around the world, but especially in my country, there was a epidemic where thousands and thousands and thousands of gay people died because our government decided that it was not worth it to study HIV/AIDS, and they just let people die. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands. So when you compare 2-3 decades ago, how many gay people were there? They fucking died. So now we have a situation where more people, it seems like, oh my God, it's huge, but it's just the normal number of people, and we didn't kill them.
Yeah. That's all it is, Zico. And that's the thing. It's like like 30%, 20%, like those are all just people identifying that they're not straight, or they're not cis, meaning that they
It's still
are
like
not
3% trans though.
Yeah, it's still like 3% trans. That's about it. Like even with the youngest populations, and that's what it really comes down to. Zika, you do realize that in that 1% of, or even just 1% of the entire world is the population of Russia, right?
Yeah.
So do you think that that's an entire population of people? Don't you think those people matter?
I never said that transgender individuals don't matter as souls. I never said that.
I know, but the thing about it is the conversation leads to them not mattering, right? Would you say that in Kazakhstan you don't have trans people? It's because they're being oppressed, because they don't matter to their society. They're worth more dead than they are allowed to live openly and free. it's those type of conversations that lead to the dangers that we are talking about, and that's why we push back so hard about the idea between gender and sex, because that is essentially what allows us to keep our trans people alive, because we care, we have value. Are you on the phone? Are you done? Siko, did you take a phone call? Okay. So I'm just saying, do you understand the point of that? That the reason we have the difference between gender and sex in our society is to protect people to live freely. Does that make sense? I think your phone went to sleep. Wake up your phone.
Oh, I think he's gone.
Oh, I guess he took that call. I guess it was important.
Yeah, he dropped. It's fine. We were going to need to wrap it up and move to super chats anyway.
I know. I was about to move on too. All right. Well, that's a frustrating. And
I wish people were more clear when they're talking to our screeners. I didn't know that we were going to end the show on a call that was going to be that frustrating.
I know, because it all starts with the sex and gender thing, right? Like it's always sex and gender being the same thing, right? When he, like, the idea of asking him why he's a man, because I can reproduce the beauty of life. Okay, so now we know where that's
because I have the sparkle. He's like Edward.
The life sparkle. Spreading it out all over the place. You know,
horrible.
Spread that sparkle.
It's truly horrible,
sir. No. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jimmy just said something, but nobody can hear. He said that even men who've had a vasectomy are not really men anymore, according to that ideology.
No, they lose the sparkle. You lose that little sparkle, because men are sparkly. They're sparkly little people, little special people. Mm-hmm. No, I love you guys.
They glisten.
It's fine. They glisten. They glisten for very weird reasons.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to leave call-in studio. We don't need that anymore. Also, I can hear myself. Jimmy, please mute yourself.
Yeah, thanks. Great. So before we get into super chats, I just want to make a quick personal little announcement. I promised I'd make this announcement before. I am officially running for Montgomery County Council here in Maryland. So I know you have seen the little donation link. But I know I can count on all of the line chatters that are there to help me raise that money. Let me get that power, because every dollar that I raise right now is more powerful than it will ever be. So please make that happen. But
your donations will be matched.
Yes, if you live in Montgomery County. You have to live in Montgomery County for the match donations, but you can be anywhere in the United States to be able to give a maximum of $500. But yeah, I will historically be the first trans person in the state of Maryland to represent as a lawmaker, which is incredible, as an openly trans person, because who knows? And then also I will be one of the few full-time lawmakers, so that's a big deal as well. And I haven't told Jimmy this, even when I'm elected, you're not going to see the last of me. I'm still going to be here. You think I'm going to let go of all of you? No, not at all. So let's get an elected person as a host. Let's do it. I need your help.
Yeah.
Make it happen. Love you all. Okay, great. Now we can get into super chats.
Yeah. $5 from Moira Bannister. Lux be all about that blue Raz life. Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't know why, but like, look at my shirt. It's also blue. Like, so white things in my background, like in my area, they just look blue. So my teeth look blue. My shirt looks blue. I don't know what it is, but no, I did actually eat out a Smurf. It's fine.
Ooh, that must have been interesting. That must have been hard. Tiny.
I mean, it was, it was definitely challenging. You got to listen, when you're queer and you're disabled or whatever, you got to figure it out. It's just like an extreme form of dwarfism. You can work around it.
I see the sparkle though.
Mm-hmm.
The sparkle of life from this bird. I don't know. So usually, did you not make the challenge?
Yeah, usually Arden gives us like 3 options of like, we are gonna defend one of these 3 silly positions, and then we put up a poll in chat in the chat can vote on which one we're going to actually do. And then obviously the loser does it, but it's up to you whether you want to do that today, Jimmy. I think it would be fine if we didn't, especially because we need to wrap it up relatively soon. So, but up to you. Okay. Jimmy is working on it, you guys. We're going to get you a poll over there in the chat for what silly positions. If you got ideas, throw them in the chat too. We've had some good ones recently. So let us know what silly position the loser should defend. This is our first one with a vote. Go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. $5 from Mara G. Let's kick this TACIS off right. They can't keep us down. Love all my trans fam and allies. # Team Josie. Am I going to have to keep count because we don't have the little scorekeeper? Oh my gosh.
They got it up there.
That.
Give Josie the point, though. It's not mine. It has to have the hashtag or we don't get the vote.
It's
That's
always rigged. Always rigged. I see how it goes.
From the very beginning. Mm-hmm.
From the very beginning, it's all, you know what? It's fine. I'm used to working against the odds. It's fine.
You keep saying things that the chat can't hear you. So we just have these moments of like, we're just sitting here quietly while you make comments that they can't hear.
It's okay. Nobody wants to hear Jimmy. It's actually not funny. Jimmy's saying unfunny things are not even worth repeating.
Yes. Permission to steal jokes from a white man. Love that.
Yes. Well, they're not funny jokes, they're Jimmy. All right.
Give me a new super chat.
The next super chat is
Canadian $10 from Quantum Chaos. Thank you. It says, sorry, Lux, you know I'm ride or die, but the coin flip has spoken and I must obey. # Team Josie. # Quantos Nachos. Oh, I still have 80 characters. How are you guys doing? You guys like stuff? Things? Me neither. Yeah, I kind of don't like anything this week, so I'm with you. Thank you for your donation. It's very appreciated.
I love
Quantos Nachos.
Quantos Nachos.
Yes.
That's how I read Quantum Chaos, all right?
Mm-hmm. Just a little dyslexia, just a little bit. My partner apparently has dyslexia, and he only just told me, and now I'm like, you fucking dyslexic dork. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
How did you go this long without telling me that?
It all makes sense, though.
It does. It's all coming together.
It all comes together.
Like, no wonder you read so slow.
Ouch. Hitting me in the heart right there. I see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
The next super chat, £5 from Mystic Mind Analysis Tavern. What you need to understand is transphobes are simple folk, the common clay of the West. Morons.
Thank you for the Mel Brooks quote. Did you see that the Spaceballs 2 is going to be a thing?
And Mel Brooks is going to be yogurt at
He's
like 90 what? He's like 90
I know.
Something. It's
I
wild.
have no idea. He's ancient.
I'm so excited. He is ancient.
I hope it's good.
And I hope it's good too. I mean, it's a special place for that type of humor. I love it.
For sure.
I
think this one's mine. 10 Canadian from Quantum Nachos again. Also, you guys know I'm a people-pleasing fence sitter, and I'm going to cancel my own vote by voting # Team Lux. Also, # Transagenda call-in show would be a good name now that Katie is gone and it's no longer transatlantic, but keeps the TACIS acronym. I did actually put, it was in my chat last night. Quantum Chaos was in my chat. I was like, Katie Montgomery's not even there. I was advocating for us to have a later time slot because it doesn't make any sense for us to do it in the middle of the afternoon anymore. And people had a trans agenda call-in show, trans argument call-in show. How can we make it still TACIS but change the words? You in chat, tell me now. What are your ideas? Go.
Yeah, and we can also just say that Jimmy agrees that we're going to change the name, and he can't say anything.
He's not here to say anything in opposition.
Yeah,
yep,
exactly.
So we're going to start at 4 next week.
Yeah.
Jimmy
says
is
that's a
we
great
could
idea.
just do it. And you would have no idea. He wouldn't even know because he doesn't pay attention to what we're doing.
Jimmy
Anyway.
agrees. We're gonna start the show at 4 or 6. It sounds good. Thank you, Jimmy.
Mhm.
That's a super great idea. Thank you.
Wow, so generous.
It was that easy. Wow. Okay. $5 from Haley Gringer. Please use the money to support being gay and doing crimes. Love you both. Hashtag Team Josie. Of course,
I will.
always.
Trans America
Proudly.
call-in show. That's true. Okay, sorry.
That's a good one. I like that one too.
Oh, we have the Jimmy has just put out the poll for you. So
Ooh.
the loser choose which one they have to defend. They either have to defend the idea that Chapel Roan isn't gay enough. Socialism is fun, but not sure what's implied by that, but you know, it's open-ended. Or TACIS should stay at the same time. You're welcome for giving you that one. Who's trying to dig for an idea for the third prompt? And there it is.
Of course.
All right.
Of course.
Go ahead, Josie.
Jimmy just wants to be validated with the choice of being at 6 o'clock.
Of being in
That's
the
what it is.
incorrect time slot. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. $5 from. Oh, I already said this one.
No, you. Oh, did you? Oh, yeah, you
Yeah.
did that one. All right, we need a new one.
A new super chat. Let's go.
$5 from Melatonale says, I heard I'm supposed to put my money somewhere. Is here fine? Hashtag Team Lux. Hashtag sorry, Josie. I love you. Thank you. We appreciate it.
We do appreciate it. And you are forgiven this once.
Just this once.
Just this once. Everybody gets one.
Everybody gets one. Oh. Like, I'm sure it's not meant to be primarily a Family Guy throwback, but it is for me.
I know. It is. $10 from Melissa R. At Lux. I watched the TV Glow for the first time Saturday instead of the parade BS. I cannot stop thinking about it. I'm shook. The pink opaque. Everything about it, no one to share it with. Wow. Yes, it crawled in my head the first time I watched it, and it did not leave for months. So you're welcome for that, Melissa.
I'm gonna have a movie review next week. If anybody wants to go subscribe to my channel at Luxander Reel, I need to finish watching it and taking more notes, and then record my response and edit it out. But it's supposed to be ready for next week.
How can you
so
watch it slowly? How do you watch? Wait? You haven't?
I watched it the first. I watched it the first time in one sitting,
Okay.
but then since then, I'm dealing with some very destabilizing things in my personal life that have made it quite hard to focus on it for longer than like 10 minutes at a time. And I have a lot more notes the second time, so you can see how it's taking me longer the second watch through, where I'm like, oh, and I noticed that thing. Oh, and I noticed that thing. Oh, got to pause it again. So it's just taken me a little bit of time to get through the second watch and all my notes that I have to make. But yes, that'll be next week.
Yes.
Is the pink opaque real? That's the question.
That is the question. And
50 Canadian, thank you.
$50.
Yeah, very generous. Ayla Ursus says, I can understand where Caleb is coming from. I'm ace, but nobody has ever cared. Also, there's many who say ace don't belong, so I've never tried to claim being part of the community. Okay, well, that's trash.
Yeah.
Like, that's just trash. Ace people are part of it. And like, just because you personally didn't experience it doesn't mean that there isn't like specifically anti-asexual bias or discrimination that is very similar to other forms of discrimination. Like, guess what? I know it's going to be upsetting, this thing I'm about to say, but asexuals get corrective rape too, just like lesbians do. And like, it's also, they also have the legitimacy of their relationships questioned. They also get the questions that are like, when are you going to give me a grandkid? Like, they experience all the same anti-queer discrimination stuff. So you're part of the club. Sorry.
Yeah, you are. And we have a first time the chatter here, $4.99 from Chibi Snow. As someone who's been to many Southern barbecues, I just want to say Black people make better mac and cheese. So I'm not sure what that, not sure that's a white win. Honestly, though, facts.
I'm fine. Listen, my point that I'm trying to make is that whiteness is something that has like had any cultural significance taken away from it. Like, I saw a bunch of people in chat who were acting confused about this, but it's like, I don't have like Polish pride or anything. It's because in America, like, whiteness used to exclude Italians and Irishmen, and then they had to gradually increase. And then an Asian man sued the United States government to be considered white because he was a landowner, and he was denied that. But that's the whole thing, is like, whiteness isn't really a functional culture. Like the whole concept of whiteness is constructed around supremacy. And so yes, that's all that there is to white culture, is like dumb shit like box office movie popcorn, like the Marvel movies, and supremacist ideologies. Don't act confused like you don't know what's going on in America. We don't have like meaningful identity culture for white people. At least not one that I want to be affiliated with. So anyway, I'll stop complaining now.
Yeah. Now it's you to.
$4.99 from Jimmy Snow. Thank you again. Jefferson's enslaved chef James Hemings learned French techniques and perfected the American version of the dish, credited with what we enjoy here. So, okay. So, yeah. So basically, white culture is also stealing shit from other people's cultures. So I maintain that mac and cheese is white people culture. I'm going to maintain that.
No.
Just stealing shit that other people did better than we did. We're good at that.
Yeah. $5 from Alishana Silverbow. My one SC for the week. I don't want to waste it. It is. Oh, no, I'm guessing super chat. I was wondering. It's like your one South Carolina. I don't want to waste it. It has. It has to be something profound. Oh no, I'm running out of characters. Better get my vote in. Hashtag Team T. No, it's just T.
I don't actually have any tea. That's from last night.
No,
I'm so sad, Alia Shauna
okay.
Silverbow. You didn't even get one pun in there. Not even one single word pun play. Man, that is sad.
I know.
$9.99 from JW Edgy. Thank you. Says, I would like to explore HRT, but I'm uninsured and worried we would completely lose access. I'd rather never access HRT than gain it, love it, and lose it. Hashtag mental calculus. Hashtag still gonna do it. Hashtag existence is resistance. Yeah, I mean, you can get access to low-cost HRT through Planned Parenthood. Even if you don't have insurance, they can do a sliding scale for you, and you can get additional coverage if, like, they are funded for that reason, to help underprivileged people. So you should still be able to maintain access. And some doctors and nurses are prescribing slightly more than what you actually need to take, so that you have just a little bit extra at the end of the month, just in case. And that will accumulate over time to protect some of that lack of access coverage. But yeah, I understand how you feel, though.
Absolutely. $4.99 from JW Edgy. Love to Erica. I've been needing access I need access to better resources. Glad they called. Hashtag Team Josie. Thank you, JW. Yes, I agree. It was a good call.
Yep. 5 Canadian from Quantum Chaos says, you know who doesn't get enough love? The mods. It can't be easy keeping people like me in line, pun intended. So I'm just gonna say it. Hashtag Team Calasia 789. Yes. Hashtag mods. We appreciate the mods. They're volunteers and they keep y'all in line in the chat, and they should be celebrated.
That's true. $4.99 from EXJWJC. Thanks for showing up and keep up the great work. Absolutely.
Will do. Oh, tell everybody that you want me on the Hang Up next month. I'm going to ask Matt directly if he'll have me on the Hang Up, but I want to break out of just being on TACIS every week. You got to get me on one of those other shows.
Yeah.
5 definitely. Canadian from Ayla Ursus. I forgot to cast a vote. Hashtag Team Void Kitty. Oh no. Okay, you take the next one and I'll go find the cat. We'll torture him and make him show up on
Kitty. Yes. That is a point for Team Lux. Void Kitty counts. £5 from Ian Roche. More bad South Carolina rulings. Shake my head. Will a visitor with a foreign hormone prescription be okay? Are areas out of the jurisdiction like native land and Puerto Rico's, etc.? It's a yes. It's one of those things about. I'm not too sure. I do not know.
Don't travel here
about foreign. Yeah. I mean,
it's a bad decision. Don't travel here.
Yeah.
$10 from Aiden Swallow. Hell of a last name you got there. I emailed to Q&A. I saw Josie's running for office. I am running for U.S. Congress in Arizona. As a high-profile trans woman, how do we support the community best? Hashtag Team Josie. Would like to talk if able.
Yes, go to transequality.org and fill out our endorsement questionnaire, and I will set up a call with you. Please do that. Yes. $5 from Crystal B. This show is one of my sparkles of life. I love it, and I hope it's the good kind of sparkles. I hope
And not
it's
the
not
weird
the other
kind.
kind of sparkles. Yeah, not the weird kind from Belgium.
Ah, I got it this time. Thank you so much for the $50 from Mr. Boricua 10. Ugh. British. Oi, Josie, and hashtag Lux. That's my vote. How be ya? As of this Supreme Court, as of this super chat, I've missed a bit of the show. We'll watch back after. Made a giant step today, ripped the bandage off, and reintroduced myself to me best mate to LGBTQ plus and other status. Now I wait. Jesus Christ. What I got from that is that you just came out to somebody. Congratulations and good luck with that. Thank you for your donation.
Yes. Another $5 Canadian from Alyssa Ursa. I'm so bad. Can non-Americans give money to your campaign? Hashtag Team Josie. No.
No.
Unless you
I said no.
you can't. I know.
Bad.
I will refund it if it comes in from a weird place, but I don't think ActBlue will let you do it anyway. So no, I wish you could. But if you know somebody in the United States, send them my link.
Election integrity. Boo.
Yeah.
$5 from Sentient Tree. Make Jimmy host more. We all missed him. Not here, obviously. Hashtag Team Void /Lux. Yeah, he's got a lot of shit to do, you guys. He's like running this entire company.
Yeah.
So, you got to give him a break.
Yeah.
He will be on this Sunday and on the 29th, though. So look forward to that.
Yeah, and Lux just remembered that out of nowhere. I'm really proud of you.
I know, it was crazy. Wow.
It was crazy. $10 from Eric Down. Is that why vampires sparkle in Twilight? They're just full of,
It's not, no. They're not full of, they're covered with.
Covered, yes.
Important distinction.
Very important distinction.
JW Edgy with the $5. Thank you. Says Spaceballs 2. That's crazy. I literally just had the privilege of showing my partner Spaceballs for the first time 2 months ago. Hashtag Team Yogurt. Who's Team Yogurt? Is that you? I do eat yogurt like every day, but not on this show.
Yeah, I think it's neutral.
Okay. Wait, that's a nil vote. Nobody gets that one.
Yeah.
Spaceballs is classic, though.
It is. $10 from Mr. Barigua. First, congrats to hashtag Josie announcing her run for office. Get that shit. Second, friend message back. Nothing has blown up. We'll be talking further. Good stuff, though. Here's to better bonds, y'all. Yay, good. Super amazing.
I'm really glad that it went well. That's good.
Yeah. I think that might be the last one. Nope.
Canadian 5 units from Grace. Thank you. Says hashtag Team Josie. Also, I've heard woman described as someone whose social schema aligns with the female sex. Can y'all dumb that down for my dummy brain? Female sex. Yeah, of course. Schema means schema is like a short word that kind of it means all of the other things we usually say, which is like the long answer is like a woman is someone who understands themselves as being related to womanhood in the culture that they grow up in, understanding what womanhood is in their culture. So like, that's what it means. It's just like, that's Joven's way of shortening it. And if you know what the word schema kind of means, then you get it. But it's like, for most people, I usually just go with a slightly longer explanation for the sake of like them not getting tripped up by my vocabulary. How many autistics out there have to dumb down their language to not seem like you're trying to act superior to people? Anyway.
Yeah. That's how it works. $5 from Mod. I am 6 days post FFS. Swelling bad, pain not. I've seen my new face a few times and it's magical. Looks more like me than my old face ever did. Congratulations. I think that my FFS was probably the most significant for my gender dysphoria. So yes, congratulations. And just remember, it takes about a full year for it to finally settle in, but it always
Yeah,
looks
you're going to be
good
swelling for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so good. I'm so proud, happy for you. Congratulations. Big congrats.
Good going.
And is
Do we
that the
have
last
more?
one?
Are there more? There's more. There's at least one
Maybe?
that I've seen.
There is at least one.
There
There
was
is a
one more.
couple. And there were 2 Team Luxes,
Quantum
but
Chaos.
that's fine.
Once you're done donating to Josie on my behalf, join Lux's Patreon for more cats. # Team Lux. I did just post a Patreon-only cats video today that Quantum Chaos wants everyone to know about. So, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Ayla earths
All
us
right.
with another # Team Lux vote.
Yeah, but you're still behind.
Or yeah, no,
Sorry,
I just got
Team
one from
Lux.
Quantum Chaos and from Ayla. Was that?
No, but that one of those were added because you were at 5, and then they added 2 more points, so you were at 7. Unfortunately, yeah.
Win by 1 point? I'm willing to accept that.
That's just how it goes. So, anyways, I do know Team Yogurt is from Spaceballs, by the way. So,
okay. I haven't seen that in forever.
Yeah, he's the Yoda character.
Got it. Okay. Yep, that makes sense.
That's who Michael Brooks plays. Yeah. All right. Anyways, referring to Spaceballs, not food. # no vote.
Okay. Well, thank you for clarifying, JW Edgy. Thank you, everybody, for your super chats today. We appreciate you
now
every
you gotta
time.
Defend how.
Yeah. What one?
Defend.
Chaperone isn't gay enough. Oh.
Yeah.
That's really sad. It's easy. Oh no, the timer already started. Shit. So Chaperone, like everybody says like, wow, she's the gay queen. Like oh my God, she loves, like she's the queen of eating pussy now. Like, did you all hear that? Oh, she said recently, like, I used to think that eating pussy would be hard, but then I tried it and it turns out that sucking dick actually is what's hard. Guess what? A real gay never would have sucked dick in the first place. Yes, I'm being trans exclusionary. You can't stop me. Being trans exclusionary is the only way to be truly gay. No, I have no idea what I'm saying now. I didn't have enough time to prepare for this. But the thing is that she has songs and music videos that could be interpreted as being about a man, and any conversation about men automatically disqualifies you from being a lesbian. You're not allowed to talk about men, period. You're not allowed to have male exes. You're not even allowed to be like happy when your male exes crash out, as in that one song that I have stuck in my head right now. Listen, she covers her body too much. That's another thing. If she was really gay, the ass would be fully hanging out, not just half hanging out, okay? And like, listen, you want to try to tell me that she was super gay with her like Chapel Joan outfit, the armor, okay? Listen, there is nothing gay about a woman wearing a suit of armor. There is certainly nothing extremely homoerotic about a woman wearing armor, okay? And certainly Joan herself was not likely queer or trans in some context. No. So that's when Chaperone wore that outfit, actually she was reifying Christian colonial gender roles and hierarchy, and she was supporting the patriarchy by doing that. And when she said something mean about moms, she said there's no such thing as being a good mom. Well, that's because she truly understands what it is to hate being a woman, which is the straightest thing you could do, is to just really, truly loathe your experience as a woman and think that your kids are the worst. So truly, she fits in perfectly with straight culture. Thank you.
Straight culture, yes.
Do it.
Yeah,
Publish that as a solo clip, Jimmy. Yes. For sure. I'm going to ruin all my chances at having a lesbian arc ever in my life. That's what I've just done.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so
vamping. Make sure you join the Patreon.
That's
we
true.
have a lot more content on there, and we're doing more shows exclusively for Patreon. So make sure that you do that, and that's really important. And after you support the Patreon, support the campaign. I've been seeing donations come in. I need to see them come in faster. Okay, and that's really, really important. If you, unless you just hate trans people in office, just everybody who didn't donate, I'm now taking notes that you all hate trans people in office.
You are transphobic, as a matter of fact.
Absolutely. And that counts for all of you out of the country. I'm sorry.
Yep.
That's true. All right, we're good now.
Cool.
Let's get into the title sequence.
If you're done with listening to trans politics bullshit, go watch my videos on my channel. After you're done here, go watch my review of She's the Man from last week. It was really funny. Have a good time with that. Join the Patreon. Get on the list.
Join the Patreon. Yeah.
New episode of the Line House Podcast tomorrow. Did you know that the Line House Podcast has some crazy shit?
The Line has a podcast?
Yep. Later, losers.